about it later, between emotional connection and desire. Emotional connection would be, for example, friendships, or having affection for other things and so on, your parents and so on. So this is rather beyond than mere sexual desire. However, in an Oedipus complex, which follows the Greek tragedy of Oedipus, who killed unknowingly, who killed his father and took his took his mother as wife. So he killed his father. He did not know it was his father because he was some sort of turned away as a child. Oedipus turned away, and then he, on a crossroad, met a man whom he did not know was his father. He killed him, and then later married with his mother. However, in this Oedipus complex, which Freud brought in, which pretty much means the following: that a child who grows up in a family, let's say it is a boy, it is our Oedipus, it is a boy who grows up in his family, and he of course has some male role model. This is his father, or if you want, this is in other forms. You might say, no matter whether it is homosexual parents or heterosexual, there is always one part in a family who is dominant. So if these are, for example, if these are two lesbian women who are in a marriage and live together, then this is human nature. Then is always one part in the relationship which is the dominant part, which some sort of is in control, and there is always one part which is the subordinate part. This is I discovered this by many couples, and so this is some sort of where relationship works, actually, why you can live with someone for over a long period of time, because equality, you are not equal. There is always one part which has to be some sort of sets rules, and the other part follows them and is relieved that someone is there who sets rules and so on. However, we assume that in this family, in this working family, that a boy who grows up in a family, that he has a female role model. This is his mother, and that he has a male role model. This is his father. This is Oedipus complex all about, and he then sees himself as part of the father. He tries to compete with the father. So very early on, a child sees the difference between those two. A child will as well as see the difference in a family between a dominant part and if you want, a subordinate part. And what Oedipus complex, for example, that does not count into consideration is that there are siblings as well. So a child, of course, competes for attention of their parents with other siblings, as well as with siblings. You compete. This is, if you have siblings, then you always compete with each other, especially if there are boys. Girls, assumably, is the same. So if there are boys, you always compete with each other and so on. So it is as well as to get attention from your parents, and this is here not different. And in that sense, in this Oedipus complex, in this assumption, in the psychoanalysis, it has been said that the boy tries to compete with the father for the attention of the mother, but yet he does not succeed because the father is too dominant. He's adult, he's strong, he seems to be able to do everything he can and want. This is from a perspective of a child. So in order to compete with the father, the child then some sort of steps down a little bit and tries to emulate his father in order to some sort of compete with him, and so on, and vice versa happens with the girl. According to Oedipus complex, the girl has an affection to the opposite sex. Has her father. She sees her father as something she wants to, as something. If you want, is the opposite gender, and she then sees her father some sort of as a male role model, as well as her mother as a female role model, and then again she tries to compete with her mother for the attention. This is very important, for the attention of her father, but she does not succeed, and there emulates her mother's behavior. This is some sort of in general of course, in the psychoanalysis, it's been said that the development of women works a little bit differently, and this is that women would, or that girls would, in young age notice that they are not man, that they are not boy, that they are missing their sexual organs, and this would lead to some sort of and then this would lead to some sort of an envy where they envy boys and so on, or in a family, which is still very common, boys are treated differently than girls. So this means that if she, and this is actually mostly the case, if a girl sees that the male or that the boys in the family are treated favorably, are treated in a different way, then of course she will get envious and so on. And another form is, for example, if a family, this is very common as well, has no boy or has no male heir, if you want, because we still think in these terms, the family has no male heir, and one of the girls then some sort of is a compensation for this male heir, and this girl then becomes gets approval for male behavior for anything, whatever, and then she some sort of adopts to male behavior in some sort of rejecting all womanly behavior, in rejecting everything that she's been considered weak. I mean, of course, in this relationship there is a lot of things where you have to say, yeah, what is weak, what is strong. Of course, a child will always associate itself with the role model which is strong, which he or she perceives as is desirable, is something wanting. I mean, this is what you see actually very often in superheroes and so on. So in if you want, you have this in Batman, for example. You have this in Batman, for example, where you have in the beginning, I think this is Batman begins with Christopher Nolan, where you have this Bruce. Bruce is some sort of weak. Bruce is this weak child who cannot watch this movie. Then his father is all too dominant, and he seems to struggle to some sort of be with him. Then he some sort of this appears, and then later on, Alfred is this new father figure, the butler, who some sort of orients himself, gives him a role model, and so on and so forth, and as well as with his mother. But in Batman, his mother is pretty much missing. However, these constellations play a key role, despite the fact that some may not like the psychoanalysis. However, but it is indeed something we find. I mean, one great example is again those comics. You find this in Spider-Man as well. So his parents are old, and they then help him to orient himself, see the right world, or see the right path. For example, for Peter Parker. And so he orients himself. So children have always take a role model on their fathers, as well as you can in a a family with many siblings, they of course take other siblings as role models as well, how you approach the world and how you define yourself, and this later on of course has an effect on your desire, because desire is something you want to feel about yourself as well. I mean, we talked about being comfortable, so you some sort of seek parts of your identities, or want to have your identity fulfilled. For example, if you are a man who wants to be with an attractive woman, and this attractive woman has of course meaning for himself, understanding for himself. I mean, he needs to have her or be with her and show everyone that he has this attractive woman in order to some sort of prove himself or the world that he's manly and so on. And this, you can find some issues back there in the Oedipus constellation. I mean, of course, we some sort of assumed, and this is not always the case, that there would be always the father who would be dominant and the mother would be subordinate. But in reality, this is not the case, and the Oedipus complex takes these things indeed into consideration, so that there might be some sort of a father who may be not that strong, or who again does not fulfill the social role which has been bestowed on him, because society, this is how you evaluate a man, this is how you evaluate a good woman, a good man, and this is what society values as well, or what society some sort of has put forward to be valued or to be considered as valuable. So this is not only an individual issue, this is as well as a social issue. I mean, later on, especially when this child is socialized, when this child walks into school and is surrounded with those role models of society, with those ideal role models, where still to this very day, this is something you see in ads, in movies, whatever, there is still the man who takes care of a woman, and the woman is at home. And the woman is at home, and so, and this has been considered as good woman, a good father. A good father takes care of his family. A good woman takes care of her children, and everything that deviates from this path is evil, is selfish, is egoistic. These are the role models or the value systems the child is confronted with. These are the genders which this child then later on is confronted with, and of course you wanna some sort of, we talked about this, it is not that you see or consider this as bad or whatever. No, you wanna gain some sort of approval, you wanna be part of a society, and some days you have to make your compromises. I mean, this is again what we talked about with Sex and the City, that you have to adopt to a male behavior in order to be successful in a male society. This makes sense, and this is as well as with your children. So it is not only the first impact on the psyche of a child, is not only his family, but then as well as his socialization. And in Europe, this starts early with the kindergarten, as well as in the let's say in the West it starts early, and so on. However, we will continue this the next time, where we will talk a little bit of Nazism, what implication Nazism has. So this was Adem Kirbas here from Ordu in Turkey, in a provincial city on the Black Sea region. We are in the pandemic, and I hope that you all take care of yourselves. Bye.